Hello and welcome to the True to Life podcast. In this interview episode, I'm joined by Lille Tuivailala.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. Awesome. We just rehearsed right before the start of the episode. So she played volleyball here at HNU, technically 3 years because of COVID, and then 2 years actually playing. So I'm really excited about this interview. You know, we actually haven't talked or sat down at all really, but, you know, someone that I've kind of watched over their volleyball season, you know, someone that's interacting with their teammates, always picking people up, just seemed like a really, you know, lighthearted person out on the floor. So someone that I was interested in getting on the show. So I'm really excited about this episode. So just to get started, you mind introducing yourself, talking about your journey with volleyball, high school to college and things of that nature?
Yeah, so I played volleyball, basketball, and softball in high school, actually. So I was a three-sport athlete. I born and raised in the Bay. I'm from San Mateo. So after high school, I played 2 years in JUCO. I went to the College of San Mateo, played volleyball there. And then after that, it was COVID, and I transferred here in 2020. And then, like you said, played 3 years technically because I used my extra year of my COVID year. But I graduated in December, so I graduated early. But I'll be walking with my class actually in like a week or so, I think.
It's almost over.
Yeah, it's almost done. So.
Yeah. How was it being a tri-sport athlete in high school?
It was a lot of fun. I grew up just always playing sports, and the youngest of three, so my oldest brother and sister too. Like we're a sports family, so I loved playing 3 different sports. I knew pretty early on that like volleyball was gonna be the main one for me, but I think just playing basketball and softball, it honestly just made me like a better athlete. I just had different experiences, different teammates. I learned different things, and so I think I liked it a lot.
No, I think it's important for, you know, student athletes like to try different sports.
For sure.
You also get to know what you really love to do, but also
Exactly.
you get to experience other things. So
For
I think that's
sure.
really important.
Yeah.
So you're the youngest of 3. How has that been, the youngest?
I love it. I think obviously it was definitely probably a little bit more spoiled than my brother and sister, but and they're older than me. So my brother and I are 7 years apart. My sister and I are 5. So they're definitely just probably 2 of my biggest mentors, obviously my parents, but having those 2 ahead of me really has just helped me and guided me through life. Like they're my best friends. We talk every single day. So yeah, I love it. Yeah.
No, I'm the middle child, so I get to kind of see older, younger. It's always in a weird ground, but
Got it.
I like it for its own reasons too.
Right.
So how did you know when you really loved volleyball? As in, when did that click for you?
Honestly, I feel like it would go back to like middle school because I always, like I said, I always played multiple sports, but I just always loved like the fast-paced game. Like the only one I can compare it to is basketball, but
Absolutely.
I wasn't the best at it. So I loved volleyball, loved softball. I loved all of them enough to play them, but I think volleyball was always just my favorite. Softball was a little bit slower for me. I liked it, and then basketball again. I loved the like community and like the camaraderie of it is still different than volleyball, but just wasn't the best. So I stuck with volleyball. But yeah, I knew pretty early on that's what I wanted to do.
You know, I tried baseball too, just super slow. I feel like I was just sitting in
exactly.
the
There's moments where it can be intense, and like
Yeah.
I still love to watch it. I love going to baseball games, but when I was playing softball, yeah, it was just a little too slow for me.
Like it's good when you're getting up to bat or when the ball's coming to you. Other than that, I feel like I'm just standing in the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
I always liked with basketball that I was in the gym and it was, you know, air conditioning, stuff like that. And it was
I'm definitely an indoor athlete. Like weather, don't have to worry about that. Like, yeah, no, I definitely like that.
You don't have to worry about like the floor getting like rained out or stuff like that.
No, like you really don't have to worry about any of that.
So what was it like, you know, experience-wise, you know, being a collegiate athlete? Because that's like the goal for a lot of people is to play at the college level.
For sure.
And then some get the chance to play pro. But
Right.
How was your experience, you know, at HNU and also at the College of San Mateo? What was that like for you?
JUCO was a lot of fun. I went to, like I said, College of San Mateo, so it was a really big JUCO. So it was really overpopulated, so there was a lot of people. So I definitely liked that, and I am grateful for it because I'll get into it later, but I obviously came here during COVID, so I didn't really have, and I never lived here on campus either, so I was always a commuter. So I never really had, I think, the maximum experience here as I think other student athletes did. So I'm very grateful for JUCO, but all in all, I think I loved it. Like it was, like you said, it was a main goal of mine since I was young to play in college. So for me to continue after JUCO, because obviously a lot of people get to JUCO and the goal is to leave, but you know, some people's paths are different than others, and it was a really big goal of mine to get out, and I also got out in 2 years, so that was I liked that a lot. But my experience here, I loved the community of it. We're really like tight knit, like everybody kind of knows each other.
That's like the major pull.
Yeah, it was a big transition for me, and it was I didn't know how I was gonna like it because, like I said, my school was super big. So coming here was really small, really intimate. But I think it was the biggest blessing because I was able to create more relationships with the people here, my teachers, and everything. So the classes were smaller. I mean, I was never in person, but I still was able to just be more intimate with a lot more people. So I loved it here.
Like if you needed to email a teacher, they're getting back to you.
Exactly.
Or even like getting in touch with like sometimes, financial aid, and they move slow, but like
right.
you could still like get onto a Zoom call and stuff like that.
It's still easier. Yeah, there were a couple counselors here that like knew me by my first name, and like that was common in JUCO, but like not a lot. The bigger the school, it's a lot harder to build those relationships with people. But once I got here, like, and learning that and seeing that, I loved it.
No, that was definitely the pull for me because I went to a small high school, and I like that intimate feel, and that's really what HNU offers.
Yeah.
And then even moving on to wherever I go, like I definitely know that I like that environment.
Yeah.
Especially creating relationships like with teammates, like you guys can relate on that level with them, like what they're going through in their classrooms.
Exactly.
Some of your teammates, do you have any like classes with your teammates too?
A lot. Yeah.
Okay.
I had a lot of the classes with my teammates too, so that made it easier too. And it was funny, like moving on, like from class to class, I would have a lot of the same people in my classes too. And I was like, well, that's really weird. Cause like in JUCO, that wasn't really that common cause our school was so big. So yeah, being able to build a relationship with classmates, even non-athletes too. Like I would have a lot of people that I would know, and then I would see them on campus and say hi. So I liked the fact that it was a small school.
Especially when you get into like the cliques of like the majors too. Like what was your major?
Psych.
Psych. So yeah, it's like other teammates that were psych majors, you're seeing them even more in all those classes.
Exactly. And they're able to help you. We've helped each other in classes and stuff like that. So it was nice.
Oh, no, absolutely. So actually, you brought up your major, psychology. How was that for you, like in school, balancing being a student and athlete? I mean, that's the whole thing of what we're doing here. Like, what was that like for you?
It wasn't that bad. I mean, the biggest transition I can say was obviously going online. So I never had an in-person class here, the 2.5 years that I was here. So, and I'm a very like hands-on learner. Like I like to be visual, like in a classroom. That's just like the best way for me to learn. So going online, it was definitely difficult in the beginning just to like adjust to it. But I think after I got the hang of it, and like I only literally came here for practice and games. So I would just do school at home, and that was like my space. And then once I left and came here, it was kind of just like a weight off my shoulders. I obviously would, if we had breaks and stuff, I would still do homework and stuff, but I would try my best to just get that done before I came here. And then when I would come here, I would only have to think about volleyball. So it was honestly the best situation now looking back. In the moment, it was hard, but I think the adjustment wasn't that bad for me.
Did you think the commuting aspect was that better for you overall, you think?
It was, I would say in the beginning, same thing. It kind of took me a while to adjust because my high school was obviously super close to home. My JUCO was same exact, like probably 10 minutes from home. So going from that to like driving like 35 minutes, and a lot of people probably drive further than me, but, it was still an adjustment, but it wasn't that bad. No,
that's good. And I wanted to ask you earlier too about, from San Mateo coming to 4-year. What was the transfer process like for you?
Like my recruiting process? Yeah. Very difficult. I was recruited during COVID, and so there was a lot of things going on, honestly, which probably was the hardest for me going through that whole situation was just getting here. Once I got here, I think it was pretty smooth sailing, but getting here was probably the hardest part. The beginning of 2020, the beginning of my sophomore season in JUCO, I had actually tore a ligament in my elbow in preseason. So they told me I would have to redshirt and, sit out and rehab it or whatever. And so I didn't like that. So I played through the injury. And then after season, I had surgery. So I had surgery early on 2020. I had Tommy John. And then I had actually committed to Notre Dame Belmont originally at the beginning of 2020. And then when COVID hit, I actually found out that the school was shutting down. So all the athletes there and obviously all the commits had to find a new home. And so I was in rehabbing my elbow and didn't have like a home. Like it was really, really hard for me. And I think that was probably the biggest shot at like my mental. I was really struggling at that point. And so I want to say it was about close to like a month that I was like back to the drawing board. Every school that had offered me before, including Notre Dame, had filled their rosters. It was getting late in summer. I didn't know what to do. And so that was really a hard struggle. And I was also rehabbing. So like I couldn't even practice. Everybody was on lockdown. Like it was really difficult. And then so after that, that's when I got a call from Coach Maggie. Shout out to her. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. She was who I committed to at Notre Dame. She came here as an assistant coach and was kind of like, would love for you to come here and follow. I'll put you in touch with Coach Mike. And so that's when I finally got a call with him, and then we talked about it, and I ended up coming here. But that whole process still to this day is like probably the hardest process that I had to go through. But at the same time, I think if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have appreciated my like opportunity to come here as much as I did. And I think I came in here just ready to work because I was just wanted it so much more than when I had like literally nothing, and I thought I was already set. Like I remember going into COVID, like thank God I committed, like I'm good, like I'm set, and then getting the call that, you know, I was back to the drawing board was definitely hard for me. But again, if I didn't go through that, I don't think I would have appreciated it as much as I did and like loved this school as much as I did.
And also that first school, them shutting down. So I'm really glad that our school isn't shutting down. I'm glad they are shutting down, but I mean, like, I'm glad
I
that
got
you're
out. Yeah, I like, and I hate saying that because I know obviously other athletes don't have that, but I did. I got out right in time, and when I had heard about it, we had heard about it I think right after my season. So our whole season we had no idea. And so when I heard about it, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I feel for everybody here because I literally went through that, and it sucks.
I mean, at least you're gonna get your degree. You played your 2 years, so I'm glad that you.
Right, I got out by like the hair on my chin. Like I literally was like, oh my gosh, this is not happening. But yeah, I got out in time.
No, for sure. No, that's amazing. I mean, obviously as a student athlete, you're gonna face a lot of hurdles. That sounds like a big one.
Yeah, it was a very big one. Yeah,
you're battling different things you can't control. You talk about uncontrollables, controllables.
Exactly.
You can't.
I literally couldn't control it, and I think that was like the biggest thing. Like I said, I was struggling a lot mentally, but in a weird way, like I was literally like physically, mentally, spiritually like forced into accepting it. Like I couldn't go and hang out with friends. My only outing of the day was like literally going to rehab. And that was hard too, because I was getting my arm ready. Like I was getting the strongest I had ever been. I had felt great. Like besides mentally, like physically I was doing great, but I just was working out like I don't even know where I'm going after this. Like so that was really hard, but yeah, it was a very big hurdle for me.
So how was your mental space at that time? Like when the only outlet you were doing was rehab. That must have been hard. How was that?
Oh, it was very hard. Because like I said in the beginning, I think they gave me a rehab plan of like I was going to be lifting weights I think at like 6 months, and I was lifting weights at 3. So I cut my rehab in half, like changed my whole eating habits, like that whole process. It was my first big. I've always gone through injuries, probably a lot of athletes, you can relate to that too, but that was my first big surgery. So like I was really just already preparing for that, and then, you know, hoping that I would come back the same if not better, hopefully. So it really took a shot at my mental, and like I said, not knowing where I was going was even harder because I was preparing and I was ready, and I was just hoping that somebody would like give me an opportunity. And so yeah, it was really hard, but like I said, in a weird way, like looking back in the moment, it was super hard, but looking back, like I was forced to just accept it. And it just definitely gave me a different perspective of like, no matter what, like life is not going to stop. Like even though it wasn't going my way, like I was forced to push through it and like put my head down and get to work. And that's exactly what I did. And obviously, you know, I just knew that God had a plan for me, and I leaned in on that, and that's when the opportunity approached itself, and then I came here. So yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, the feeling of uncertainty is pretty bad at times.
Oh yeah, no one likes that. Like no one
knowing what's going on.
Exactly, the unknown, and that was literally COVID. Like no one knew what was gonna happen. We thought it was gonna be like a month, then turned into like almost like 2 years. So yeah, no, it was definitely a year of uncertainty, but it was hard.
So it's like in those times of uncertainty, not knowing what's going on, like how do you keep your mind focused? How do you keep the goal at hand like there?
I would say, and obviously it took me a while. Like in the beginning of that whole process, it was definitely very difficult. I was still struggling. I was locked in the house. Everybody was. But I think just learning and navigating what made me feel good and like what kept me happy and just my mental sanity. Like sometimes, obviously besides COVID, because everybody was locked in, but it gave me a different perspective of like if I need a break or if I need like a mental check, like I need to allow myself to do that. And I think as student athletes, that's hard because we're trained to just go and go and go. But I think going through that, like it definitely just allowed me to realize that like sometimes like I do need a break, and sometimes I just do need like a breather. And after that, it kind of just allows me to like reset myself and know what the goal is and to keep working at it. And like I said, like life goes on, like whether you like it or not. So if you're gonna, sit in the struggle or whatever you're going through, like it's easy to sit there for a while and not, realize that that's just that life's still going on. So I think just accepting that, and it doesn't happen overnight, it took me a while to realize that, and it's still hard, not to disregard that, it's still very hard. But I think just realizing that, I had to put my head down and keep working, and like that's just kind of what I did.
No, absolutely. And one thing that I learned too is like to step back and really just look at everything, because we were forced not to be able to do much. So I was able to slow myself down and really appreciate and cherish like the little things.
Exactly.
Like me and my brother started like a business. Then,
right.
I was training. I was going on runs. I was doing different things that I wasn't really in my comfort zone, but I was just in this period of like exploration almost.
Right. Exactly. I think it was a year for everybody to realize like a lot of things. And like, at the same time, like volleyball was and has always been like my peace. Like that was my going in the gym. That was my hours of the day where like I could leave everything behind and like
everything shuts off.
Everything shuts off, and you literally have 2, 3, 4, whatever, how many hours of the day where you just get to like lock in and only focus on that. And so having that taken away, like I had to find new things that would like do that for me. And so at that time it was obviously rehab, because that was my way of like getting better and feeling better. But for a lot of people, they didn't have that. Like a lot of people didn't have that opportunity to find that. And so, but I was lucky enough to just realize that, okay, like if this is taken away from me, like what else can I do? And I think it gave me definitely an insight of like now, like me not playing anymore, which is definitely still hard to accept. But yeah, I think it was a way for me to realize like, that my peace was taken away. Like what else can I do to figure it out?
Absolutely. I mean, do you find peace in volleyball when you're on your own or with one other person doing the sport, or is it only with practices and games?
I would say volleyball's a little bit hard because it's like I can't like go and like shoot hoops, like by myself, or do that. Like you kind of do need like at least one other person, but just all in all, like the sense of it, like in general, just me like in the gym, whether it's practice, games, traveling with my teammates, I would definitely say my teammates here, like I've made friendships that will like last a long, like lifetime.
It's the best thing.
It's the best ever. So I would just say all in all, just like practices, games, like everything that had to do with volleyball, even weight room, like everything that had to do with my team and like getting better and working was my piece for sure.
It's the connections that we make. That's why I love sports so much. It's like everyone you meet, coaches, teammates, even opposing players. Sometimes you make relationships with other guys too. Like, you just never know.
Guys that you continue to play. Like it was the same for volleyball. I've seen girls that I would continue to play, whether it was like club, high school, and then even in college. Like I have friends that I've just made throughout the years. And so, yeah, I love sports for that too.
I look at like everyone in my like circle or whatever, my connections.
Yeah.
I'm doing air quotes for people watching on YouTube. Are all related to basketball in some way in the world.
Yeah.
Like for you, I'm guessing volleyball is the same. It's how, coaching, different things like that. It's all it all sprouts from your sport.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, and it's a beautiful thing too, because it's like everybody, obviously we're human, so everybody's different, and you meet so many different people from so many different places, but you have like a common thing where you just like love the sport. And so to be able to train next to people that you've never met before and then make friendships that last a long like lifetime, like it's crazy. I love it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I did want to pivot and talk more on, because now that you're graduated, you can start being a little more of a mentor role, coaching, things like that. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, what is your, advice for aspiring student athletes to, pursue their dreams of playing in college?
Honestly, I would say, and this is obviously personal experience, but I think the best advice that I could give, and I think I went through JUCO, I went through here. My path was a little bit different. I went through an injury and all of that. So I think, people could say, working out and training and being good in the classroom. I think those are obvious things that come with being a student athlete.
Those are the given.
Yeah, those are the given. Like that's like you got to do that. Right. So I think, and when you're put in an area with people who are like-minded, like your teammates and all that stuff, it's a little bit easier to be able to be in that environment and do good in the classroom and work out and train. And honestly, whether you like it or not, you're going to get in shape. So, that's a little bit easier in the sense. So I feel like the biggest advice that I would give is, and it kind of goes back to what I went through in COVID, is taking care of yourself outside of that, like outside of the classroom, outside of the gym, outside of your teammates, like when you're alone, like how you're taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, like all in that, like I think is the biggest advice that I could give, because it's going to get hard and it's going to get rough and you're going to hit points where it's hard to go to practice or hard to wake up in the morning, or, you know, class is hard, and you're going to hit those things. And so when you're able to really like have a mental check and take a step back, and sometimes if you need a day, like Sundays are like my day, like that was like always my thing, like for a reset for the week, like that would be my biggest advice, is just making sure that you're mentally, physically, everything, all in all, like taking care of yourself. And it's going to be hard. You're not going to figure it out right away, but I think just remembering that and navigating through knowing what is best for you and what works for you, because what works for you might not work for everybody, but just taking care of yourself, eating, drinking, water, like sleeping, like all of those little things I think go into it and just help you like mentally, and it'll help you carry through your years in college.
No, they all matter. The little things, you know, they end up being the big things. So cliche,
right.
It's so true.
But it's true, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what did you find to be the most helpful thing for you to keep that mental space, you know, intact?
Honestly, I would just say, like I said, it was really hard for me to like allow myself to know it was okay to take a break. Like,
man, me too.
yeah, like working out crazy, or like, you know, forcing myself, or like, for instance, waking up on the weekends, like, do I want to work out today after I had like 2-3 games during the week? Like, it's okay to take a rest day. Like, it was hard for me to like allow myself to feel that.
Very
but
difficult.
I think, yeah, it's very difficult. And I don't think I really caught on until like probably my last season towards the end.
Please share the wisdom. I need it.
Yeah, like I literally didn't really realize it until towards the end, where I was like, okay, like I physically am so drained, and like it's gonna hit you at some point. Like you can only push through for so long where you literally need a break, like physically, mentally, all of that. Like I'm so big on that, because you have to, like you have to take care of yourself. And so I didn't realize that till later on, but I think, yeah, just like taking a mental break, taking a rest day, chilling with my family, like hanging with my friends, because you already are away from that a lot of the time. You miss a lot of stuff that's going on because of sports. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I was lucky enough to obviously stay in the Bay, so I was still at home. But for kids who like, you know, live on campus or are away in a different state or whatever it is, just making sure that you're okay mentally and taking a break. I think that was probably the biggest thing that helped me.
I mean, something I fall into is just the go all the time. Even now we're off season, like I'm like
right.
weight room, gym, eat, back to my room, back to the gym. It just every day's filled like that. And
every day.
Sometimes Roman, one of my teammates, he's like, Nanik, you'd probably be better off if you took a second and just sat. And, you know, like you might be better, because sometimes if you work too much, it's having like reverse effects. And sometimes I have a hard time believing that, because I'm a big believer in the whole, like, you know, Kobe mentality, like go,
right,
like, wake up early, work out.
Right.
So it's tough for me to rationalize taking a break. I feel like if I take breaks, then, you know, I'm falling behind and things like that. I've always had like a chip on my shoulder that I need to, you know, work. I've always felt that been overlooked, you know, under recruited, things like that. So it's like if I take a break, someone's gonna pass me up. So it's like I have to kind of balance that in my head, but it is really important.
Right. No, yeah, and I totally respect that, because I think that was I learned that probably the most in JUCO, because it's like the grind is different in junior college, because everybody's goal is to leave, you know. So I definitely totally understand that, but I think at the same time, like what for me, I never wanted like volleyball or like what I loved so much to ever feel like a job,
A
like
burden.
It is, and it is a job at the same time, like whether you like it or not, like you're playing in college is literally a job, but at the same time, I love volleyball, like even on the court, like I'm a very like passionate person, like I'm very lighthearted, because that's what brought me to love the sport to begin with. Like it was fun for me, and I always wanted to keep it fun. So I think when I was going through college and I was on the go and like just, you know, constantly never allowing myself a break, it never really allowed me to take a step back, like, okay, I do this because I love it and because it's fun, and it's not, you know, it is a job to an extent, but I always wanted to make sure that I remembered that.
No, the hours that you put into your sport at the college level is definitely equal to bare minimum part-time job, but most likely full-time
bare
job.
minimum, like full-time job. Like we don't get paid enough for like the amount of hours. Like it is literally a full-time job. Absolutely.
I mean, when you factor in, like, you know, going and seeing the trainers after hours, recovery, and thank goodness we have people like that at schools for recovery to help with that.
Exactly.
But I mean, you know, you factor in like film sessions, getting into the weight room. For volleyball, do you guys have film sessions?
We did sometimes, yeah.
We did? Okay, yeah. So, I mean, you count in like film, weight room, regular practice time. working on your own with your teammates, like
yeah,
it adds up. And then then you have a paper later that night.
Then you
too?
have a paper due. Yeah, exactly. Like there's so many things. Like we would have conditioning, practice, class, film, meetings. Like it was a constant thing. And then obviously, there's a lot. It's a lot. There's
and
a lot.
You also want to hang out with friends. You want to be a college student.
Right. Exactly. So, and you only get 24 hours in the day, so it's like it's very hard to balance it all. So it's definitely a full-time job, but. Again, I think taking a break allowed me to remind myself that like I did this because it's fun for me. So I always wanted to keep it that way. No,
absolutely. I mean, it's key is time management. That's a reoccurring, theme. Very is key. Just you got to be able to manage that time. 24 hours in a day. How are you going to use it?
Exactly. So. And everybody gets the same 24 hours a day. So it's like there's not really an excuse, but so you just have to manage it how the best you can. So
with you being a commuter, how did you, factoring in that's a 30-minute drive each way,
right?
Maybe 45 depending on traffic,
right.
Like. Technically, you're losing already like an hour and a half of your day just on like driving to get to your sport.
Exactly.
So how did you manage your time to be able to train and do school? Like, what was that like for you, time management wise?
Honestly, I think in the moment having to do that every day was definitely difficult, but at the same time, it kind of just forced me to have better time management because, if I'm at home and I had to be here at 10, then I would have to like leave at like 9 or like even earlier than that because I have to do rehab before practice. So it's like I'm counting out 2 hours before I even have to be here to get here. So it forced me to have better time management. I had to get stuff done even way earlier than I expected, or again, that goes back to taking care of myself because some nights we would have practice till 10 o'clock at night and then we would have weights at 8 a.m. the next morning. And so, those were probably the roughest nights, I would say. And so a group of us were still commuters on the team, but there was a group of them that my teammates that still lived here. So I would see them walking to their dorms and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have like a 30-minute drive. Like by the time I'm home.
You have work back home too? Like that's a lot.
Yeah, like I had a 30-minute drive, so by the time I'm like out of the shower, I gotta eat dinner, then I have to do homework, then I gotta like repack for the next day. So it was a lot, but I think honestly it just forced me to have better time management again because I had to account my drive into also the weights, the practice, all of that. So it was definitely difficult, but I got through it.
It's like you weren't able to walk back to your dorm, set your alarm for 8:30, wake up, grab a quick breakfast, get to the weight room at 9.
No,
It wasn't happening.
It was not that easy. No, but I definitely think, like I said, there was a group of us that a lot of the upperclassmen, we all were commuters, so we kind of bonded over that, and so we would always be in the lounge together, like taking naps in between because we didn't have a dorm. So I mean, it definitely just made us a lot closer because we were all commuters. So
you got to find ways to make it work.
Exactly, had to find a way.
So from my understanding, do you coach volleyball too now?
Yes, I coach club volleyball. I have 15s.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So I wanted you to talk about how it's been going on to the coaching side of things with your sport. How's that been?
Honestly, coaching is probably like the best thing that's happened to me so far. I think that it was always a topic of discussion before. The club that I coach at Encore. I used to play there as well. So it was always a conversation of me coaching, but I just never felt like the timing was right. And so when I got offered to coach, and I'm coaching with one of my teammates, Hannah, too, we coached together. When she told me about the opportunity, I thought it was like the timing was the best possible because like I was going to be done playing. So I thought, what better way to, continue to have the game in my life when I'm not playing it anymore and now I can coach it. So it's been like the most beautiful transition for me, honestly, and I love it so much. It's given me such a different perspective on the game, which is kind of bittersweet. I wish I had that like when I played, like as a player. I kind of wish I did, but at the same time, I think it gives me a different drive as a coach, and because I love the game so much and I can't be out there on the floor with them. Some games I definitely wish I could just put on a jersey and go play with them, but
of course,
I can't.
You're a competitor still.
So yeah, I still get hyped the same exact way you would see me on the court. I still do that way exactly. It's just now translated for my girls, and I think that they feel that, and I think that it allows me to build a relationship with them where like they can physically see. I'll even hop in at practice and still play with them. So it's definitely just given me a different drive as a coach to be able to give the love and the passion that I had for the game that I felt on the court to the girls, and to see them build that. They're 15, so they're still learning how to navigate through that, but just the passion that I had for the game and being able to translate to them, it's the best thing ever.
I mean, how are those conversations with, like, you see young athletes,
Yeah.
they're in high school still, but they're probably, are the other times they're talking to you, asking you how you did it, you get to be in more of a mentor role. How's that?
It's the best thing
Yeah, it's
ever, I
amazing.
think. And also just they're going to be, young women, like women in sports in general, to be able to be a mentor and be a part of their life and their journey on playing volleyball, and to be that person feels great. Because, as athletes, there are, you get coached by many different people, many different years, and many different clubs, sports, whatever it is. But I think that there are always a couple coaches that will stand out and like have certain things that they've said that'll stick with you forever. And so for me to be able to potentially be one of those people for them, I don't take that lightly. I definitely go in every day knowing that what I say, like, they're listening and they're taking that in. And so it's definitely, it's helped with my confidence as a coach, and just knowing that everything that I love about the game, I'm hoping that they will too. And so I think that they see that and it translates. And I think it's just, I love it. I love it so
No,
far.
that's amazing. I mean, coaching is definitely the biggest transition between players.
Yeah,
Because you want to stay around the game in some facet.
exactly.
So coaching's the natural progression. I mean, I was able to coach like last summer a little bit.
Right.
It was a really fun experience. Like similar to what you're talking about is when they come and ask you questions about this, on the game, they're like, how do I get around this person, set this screen? Like, what do I do here? How do I
Right.
score? So it's
Right.
like, it's just fun to break it down for like,
Exactly.
it's their future. So it's like,
Exactly.
it's really cool.
It's very fun to break it down. And I think also it gave me a different perspective, because coming from college ball, like we're all pretty grown, like we're all adults, so it's like you do look to your coach in some sense, but at the same time, like, you're training every day together, like the game plan, like you're definitely guiding yourself. And so going from that and being so like competitive, because I was a very big competitor on the floor, so going from that to like them being a little bit younger and still asking for advice and breaking down things that I just wasn't used to breaking down the last couple of years, because it's just been a natural thing for me, has definitely just made me a better player. I see the game completely different than I did on the floor. So going from having a jersey on and being on the floor to being on the sideline, it was definitely a big transition too, because it was made it almost more bittersweet in the beginning, because I was like, damn, like I miss this, like I miss being in their position. I want to be back there, but again, I wanted to be around the game in some sort of fashion, so I think this is the best thing. And I just recently confirmed that I'll be coaching high school too, so I'm
Awesome. Where you at? Where at?
Sacred Heart Prep.
Oh wow, okay, that's
in
cool.
Atherton. Yeah, so I'm super excited about that. I loved club when I played. I wasn't a huge fan of it. It just wasn't like for me. I loved high school ball, like high
For
school.
sure. You
high
get to
school,
build a little more of that team.
more of a community,
Yeah.
and all of that. Like club was fun, but you travel a lot. It's a definitely different environment. So I'm super excited to coach high school as well. So yeah, it's been the best transition for me for sure.
No, absolutely. If you could pick one, if you have a couple you can share, but one of your most like favorable memories that really stands out to you.
Just in general in college.
Yeah, in college sports, or I mean, it can be even like road trips and anything like related to your time.
Honestly, I would say you probably did say it. I would say traveling with my teammates. I didn't travel a lot growing up. My siblings and I, again, we all played sports. We're all super busy, so we didn't get to travel or like take vacations. And even here, we didn't take a vacation, but just being able to travel with them was probably the best thing ever.
I mean, trips to Hawaii, SoCal.
Yeah, my trips to Hawaii on this team were my first 2 times ever in Hawaii. So
it's amazing.
That's a memory in its own. Like, being able to say that and being able to know that I went with my team and my teammates, like them being there for my first time and second time. So just traveling in a sense, I think, was probably the best thing. Going to the airports and the hotel rooms, like all of us staying up late when we probably shouldn't have, like, all of those.
Don't let the coaches hear this.
Yeah, I'm done now, so it's okay. I'm out of here. But yeah, I would definitely say just traveling together, probably.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's probably the one thing I missed out this year was not being able to travel, because I was a red shirt. But
Right.
still, I mean, it's just cool just to be around a group of guys. We all have the collective goal of winning games.
For
and
sure.
Practices. I mean, I was actually able to go on a couple of trips. I went to Fresno, not the best spot,
Okay.
but still, I was able to
That's
be
not bad,
the
though.
van rides. I
Yeah.
mean, those little things you start to really cherish those times.
Oh, absolutely. I played, like I said, 3 seasons here, 3 years here, and like those are the memories I remember the most. There's certain games I remember, but my moments that I shared with my teammates are probably what I miss the most. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you've alluded to it a little bit, but what are your plans moving forward after graduating and you're done playing sports, in the coaching side of things, but what else do you have on your plate moving forward?
Yeah, besides that, I mean, grad school definitely in the future. Our school's obviously not going to be where I'm gonna do that. So figuring that out, but grad school for sure. And then gonna focus on coaching and see where that takes me. It's definitely a passion of mine. I also work for a nonprofit, Lima Foundation, which owns our volleyball club too. So I'm working there too. And so, just staying around the game and really just definitely going back to school, figuring that out. But I love where I'm at and going to see where coaching takes me for sure.
That's amazing. I love to hear it. So before we start wrapping up and going into the quick hitters, I wanted to see if you have any shout outs to anyone that you want to, people that have influenced you that you want to, show some love with the platform.
Influenced me would probably go back to my siblings. Both hardworking. They're my best friends. They've definitely influenced me the most in my life. My parents, for sure. Obviously, all four of them. They're my why, my world, who I did it for. And my teammates here, shout out to them. They're going to be my friends for a lifetime. Coach Mike, Coach Maggie, for sure, got me here. And then probably my coach, Katie, my JUCO coach. She was probably my biggest mentor. She's still at the club that I coach at, so I see her every day. So all the credit to them. It takes a village to be able to get out and just survive in college sports in general. So to have those mentors here and all the staff here. I mean, I love all of them, the trainers, Narciso, all of them. Love them all. So, everybody that's helped me to get to where I am. Yeah, shout out to them.
Takes a village.
Yeah, it does. Literally, it does.
All right, so the quick hitters, the way I like to close out episodes, I may add a couple on if they come to me, but favorite beverage?
Would have to be pink vitamin water.
Pink vitamin water.
But it has to be the pink one.
I like this.
Has to be it's specific. Got to be the pink one.
Okay, awesome. Is that also kind of like a pregame, postgame, during, or is that just all-time favorite?
That's probably just all-time favorite. Yeah,
okay,
for
very
sure.
Cool. Would you rather have more time or more money?
For surely more time.
And because with more time, you can make more money.
There you go.
I mean, time's the most.
Life's too short, so for surely more time. More time.
I mean, time is our most valuable, asset.
Yeah.
I put this question in there because it was almost a trick question, but yes, definitely more time. No, that's a great answer. If you could teleport anywhere in the world right now, where would it be?
I'm still stuck on that. I teleport anywhere. That's a very good question. And I didn't travel a lot, so there's a lot of options that I could choose from. I always wanted to go to Paris.
Okay, yeah.
Probably Paris. Pretty cliche, but probably Paris.
I mean, just honestly, anywhere, anytime you can get out of our own bubble here. Amazing.
Exactly. I would literally go anywhere, but that's probably the first one that comes to mind. I've always wanted to go to Paris for sure.
Yeah,
see that.
No,
it's amazing.
That's amazing. Before we close out, do you have any little closing thoughts? Or are you good?
No, I don't think so. Just mentally take care of yourself, physically, all of that, and be a good person. That's the best thing I could probably say, honestly.
You already hear. I can echo that too. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Just being a genuine, hardworking person is going to take you a lot farther than, a lot of other things.
Absolutely.
If you're true to yourself and authentic, that's going to take you a lot farther than trying to be fake.
Oh yeah, be yourself and move. If you move with pure intentions and a pure heart, I think you can never really lose, honestly.
You already here first. I love it. Again, great answers. I loved it. Thank you so much for taking the time and being on the podcast. First, volleyball athlete, trying to get other sports on and stuff like that. So I'm really happy that you were able to join me.
Yeah, thank you for having me too. I really appreciate it. I love what you're doing, and I hope you continue to do it because this is dope. Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for anyone listening. Actually, first off, her Instagram and socials are going to be available. Also, coaching, stuff like that. Her story is going to be in the episode notes, so feel free to check that out. Also reach out to True Life Podcast on Instagram and me individually at Nanik Tagore on Instagram. Thank you so much. If you had any comments or questions from this episode, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, and I got more coming soon.